what are the unintentional consequences of making any kind of even small changes that may affect our customer or affect our team?
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we will be discussing the struggles and lessons learned along the journey of a seven-figure entrepreneur. It's my pleasure to welcome our guest today, Bryan Goltzman with Liquid Screen Design. Bryan, welcome.
Thank you.
We're excited to learn more about you and more about your company. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. Bryan, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, please share with us your story. Where did you start from? Where did you start having these ideas that, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur? Where have you been able to get to? Maybe share a few key lessons learned along the way, but ultimately, we just want to hear your journey as an entrepreneur.
Sure. Well, John, thanks for having me. So let me tell you a little bit about where I came from and how we started Liquid Screen Design. It's a little bit of an interesting story. I know everybody out there that's probably started a business, it all kind of starts the same, very interesting, right? So in it was 2008, and I was working for a nonprofit. And the nonprofit that I had been working at, my business partner who lives in Chicago, I live in Minneapolis, and I had worked there together. He had left. I had taken over his role as the director of the nonprofit. And after, things were getting more and more I'd say toxic, where like I was feeling a lot of pressure that like was undue pressure. And so the final straw of everything was I was going to go propose to my then wife, and I was told I couldn't take those days off.
Oh,
And
no.
I was like, okay, I've had enough.
Right.
And I decided to start looking for other work. And my whole career had been nonprofit work up until that point. And I took a job, I gave my 2 weeks notice or whatever. And within the 2 weeks, the Madoff thing happened. And the nonprofit that I took a job at went out of business.
Oh, no.
They stopped. They told me like it wasn't going to work, and obviously that's when the recession happened, and I was
Right.
out of work for 2 years,
Wow.
looking for the right opportunity for me. And in the meantime, my what turned out to be my business partner, a friend of mine, and was a mentor prior to that, said to me, was like, why don't you come into Chicago and we'll talk about something. We'll talk about some ideas. And he had a business similar to our business in college. And he said, what do you think? So this is 2010.
Okay.
And I said, okay, I could get behind it. Selling swag, it makes a lot of sense. Like I bought a lot of swag over the time. I was like, okay, I can get behind it. Uh, Less than a month later, I had a new job, full-time job. So, uh, so I became a lobbyist in Minnesota on poverty issues, with lobbying the local government. And so this became a side hustle. And it was a side hustle from 2010 when we started till 2017. The more every year, things got bigger and bigger and bigger. And as 2017, and I loved my job. I loved the people I worked with. I loved the work I was doing. My business partner was a director of a summer camp. I was the COO of a major summer camp, and he loved his job. But every year was like, okay, well, it's a good side hustle. It's bringing in a little bit of money, pays for a brand new cell phone every year, all of those fun things. But could it be more? And in 2017, we decided to take the leap, and I left my job, and he left his job, and every year we just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the original plan was it was going to be just me and him for a year. Well, we grew the business, and pretty quickly we realized we needed additional support because we just could not handle the amount of business that was coming in. So then what ended up happening was like every year we got bigger and bigger and bigger until 2020. Obviously, everybody watching has probably experienced craziness in 2020.
Right.
And we had just brought people on in March of 2020. We brought on 3 new salespeople. And it was a Wednesday. I want to say it was the day that Trump announced it was a pandemic. Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson announced that they had COVID, and the NBA shut down the rest of their season. It was all on one day. And on that day, we lost $500,000 in orders that had been placed but not fulfilled
Oh no.
because they were like, remember it was a 2 week. We were going to wait 2 weeks, so everybody's like,
Right.
we need to hold these orders for the next 2 weeks. So we scrambled, and obviously those orders never came back
Right.
because we were shut down for 2 years, and we're still dealing with pandemic related items. I got my COVID booster yesterday, so if I'm a little off today, that might be part of it. So we after a week of kind of like spinning our wheels, and we're a fully remote team. We at that time we didn't have a virtual office. Now we have a virtual office, which is kind of like 80s 90s Zelda on top of Zoom. So like my little
That's
avatar
awesome.
walks over to a person. But and at that time we were still fully remote, and we were early onto it. Made our transition to 2020 a little bit easier. It was about a week of feeling bad for ourselves, trying to figure out what we were going to do, and we realized we were going to have to tell, like, our staff wasn't going to be able to get paid, right, without and they were going to get more money from the unemployment benefits that were happening. And so we did a meeting and we let everybody go except for one of our artists and one of our inside people, so there was four of us left. And that was a terrible, terrible day. And I'm sure lots of people have
Right.
similar experiences. It was one of the most difficult decisions we had to make. Although, what we did in that meantime, we started discussing what should we be like, what are the things that we should be doing. One of our expertise is in planning and executing a plan. And so we made a list of things that, like, here's our worst case scenario, here's the best case scenario, and somewhere in the middle. And one of our main verticals is education and recreation. We did a lot of summer camp swag. And so that's where a lot of that $500,000 was, because camp was about to start,
Right.
and so people had to get that stuff ready. So our best case scenario was camps were going, like, the 2 weeks was not going to be enough, and camps were going to start late, maybe be open for half the summer. But camps would be open half the summer. Our worst case scenario was there was going to be no summer camp, but schools would start in the fall, which obviously that didn't happen. My kids didn't go to school for a full year.
Right.
Uh, so, but we had planned different things that we needed to do for the best case or the worst case scenario. And because we started planning for all of those decisions, by May of 2020, we were hiring people and we were getting bigger than we had ever been before.
Wow.
Our 2020 ended up like 370% over 2019.
Wow.
Even losing that $500,000 that never came back. Uh, where a lot of people in our space selling swag switched to selling PPE or hand sanitizer, we completely stayed out of that business. Uh, we felt like it wasn't our place to, like, what if somebody got sick from something that we sold, right? And we didn't want to be part of that. Obviously, that didn't happen for most people. But our pivot turned to custom swag boxes. And we were talking to a client. This was a client that I was just personally friends with, right? So in the past, we had, he was one of the orders that was canceled. We had done, it was a nonprofit. It was at a college campus, and we would help provide T-shirts for their big fundraiser. So we would provide the T-shirts, about $5 a piece for the T-shirts, 500 T-shirts, something like that. So we're not talking about a lot of money.
Right.
And we were having this conversation, where we were just chatting, right? Commiserating over what was going on. It's a friend I've known for a long time, but not like a super close friend. And I suggested doing, he was saying, I don't know how we're going to raise money. I suggested doing a custom swag box to him. And we had done boxes like that before for events or not for other types of like charity stuff. And we said to them, I kind of like laid it out, and I called my business partner afterwards and I said, I was talking and, this is what he was saying. And he's like, well, look, they were spending $2,500 with us. They're never going to spend the $50,000 it takes to create a custom swag box, because it's a lot more expensive.
Right.
We got a call back like 3 days later. We want to do it, and we want to add on top of. We had nothing to do. We built out an order item for them. We wanted to. He said we want to do it, and let's have a full conversation. And I understand the cost. So that order, every box after that came from that box, and we kind of became known as a company that did custom swag boxes. And
Wow.
that really changed the direction of the pandemic for us, because that box created three more boxes, and those three boxes created another dozen boxes. And at one point uh, during 2020, 2021, we were sending out 5 to 10,000 boxes a week, being
Wow.
fulfilled in my business partner's garage. And we were hiring people nonstop to like do the fulfillment, which like they were wearing masks, and it would be like one group would come in, and then the other group, they weren't allowed into my business partner's house to use the restroom. We invested in a heater into his garage in Chicago in the winter, so that like people could continue working. And the other part of our plan was, at that time we were both doing sales in 2020. I was doing sales, he was doing sales, we were both doing operations, we were both making sure orders went through,
Right.
managing the team. And we divided up the responsibilities at that point, to him being in charge of sales and me being in charge of operations. And that completely changed our growth pattern. Now, if John New came to me and we're like, we need more shirts, I would say, perfect, that's great. Let me put you in touch with Benji, that's my partner, and he knows the products. Truthfully, at this point, like, I know what I see, but I see such a small percentage of the things that go through. I only really deal with like the growth of the business. And so since then, like, business has been growing. We've been named best places to work in our industry the last 3 years.
Congratulations.
This year we were named the 12th fastest growing distributor in our industry. And where we've kind of made a big difference in the way that we operate is, like, what we say is, like, anybody can order swag, right? You could go online, you can order swag today, where it's, I want my logo on this item, and do it that way. Where what we do is, what I say is, we call it physical marketing. And so, yes, if you call us up and you're like, Bryan, I love that hat that you're wearing, I want my logo, same, we can do that. But where we kind of add to that is, when somebody says to us, they're like, okay, we want to order pop sockets or something like that. And we're like, look, nobody's ever heard of you before. They your logo's a rectangle, and nobody's going to put that on the back of their phone, which is like a high priority area to rep your brand. So what are you trying to accomplish? And if what you're trying to accomplish, let's figure it out together, how to accomplish that within your budget. It doesn't have to be super expensive to make it happen. And we have 4 graphic designers. A lot of people in our industry, they charge for graphic design. So
Good.
we don't. That's part of your order. So instead of like paying somebody thousands and thousands of dollars to create a logo, you could just use that money to buy the swag that you want to give away anyways, and we create the logo for you, and it's your logo then. And we
Wow.
don't have to worry about it. So one of the best examples, I think, of like being useful with swag is, we did for a university a long time ago. They came to us with what they wanted to do, and we're like, okay, so let's scale back and talk about how to do what are you trying to accomplish. And so in the end, they didn't have a large budget, but one of the suggestions that we came up with was like eyeglass wipes. So clearly I got glasses on. I wear glasses, and that's what we decided to give out. But we printed the map of the school on one side with like numbers on all the buildings, and on the back it had the description of where those were. So instead of giving out what an eyeglass wipe costs, like 50 cents, 30
Right.
cents, it became something useful that when they gave it out, people actually kept and used. Right.
Right.
So when you're giving it to new freshmen, they now know how to navigate around the school. And we use that same concept multiple times after that, because obviously it's a smart idea.
Yeah.
And we have the ability to do the graphic design. And the truth is, to put one logo, one spot on an eyeglass wipe versus full color, full everything on both sides, there's no difference in cost. It's the same thing.
Wow.
So what we did was we elevated what they were trying to accomplish and used it at budget friendly. So just because look, everybody wants a Yeti name brand. That may work for some people, but it might not be in their budget. And so what we try to do is work on that physical marketing piece with them. So we've continued to grow. Like I said, we now have a virtual office. We have 25 employees. We're in the process of hiring more. We're continually trying to grow, and part of what we're doing right now is we've elevated a whole level of our team to a director level position, and that's kind of where we are now, is trying to balance moving people up and trying to figure out, when you're hiring new people, how do you keep that company culture, right? How do you continue to be a best place to work,
Right.
even when you get to a larger scale? And instead of me knowing what somebody did over the weekend, I might not talk to them for a week, right? Just because of
Right.
the nature of having so many people around. So that's kind of our story of where we came from. Again, it came from me not having a job and starting to do it. I don't think I ever thought I would be an entrepreneur. I mean, I was always somebody that thought outside the box, but um, not somebody that thought. I used to tell my wife's from Canada. She would come to visit, and we drive by these like fancy neighborhoods, and I'd be like, yeah, I think I missed my boat because nonprofit work, and that's where I thought my life was going to be. So I never really thought that that wouldn't be an option for me, and now I live in one of those neighborhoods, right? So
Right.
to me, that's the best part about being an entrepreneur. I mean, the joke I always tell my staff is, the best part about owning your business is you can work half days whenever you want. You just have to pick which 12 hours.
Love
Right?
that.
So, like it's your choice when you want to work, but it's totally worth it
Yeah.
on what you can grow. So that's kind of our story. That's where I came from. Like I said, as a lobbyist, and now I own a business that where you reached out and we started chatting. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. What a story, Bryan. Thank you so much for sharing. I hope everybody who was listening in really paid attention to the intentionality around each and every step along your path for your journey. I mean, just so awesome how you were like, you know what? I got to get a job. So I'm going to go and I'm going to network and I'm going to talk to people. And you found this side gig. And then luckily you were able to get that lobbyist job. So you had something. And then you're like, yeah, we'll do this on the side. Oh, this is good. Oh, it's really doing well. We got to decide what we're going to do with it. And then you made that initial step of, okay, we're going to do it all in. Let's go. And then the fact that you were already starting to think outside of the box even more so of, okay, what do we need to do? You started having people virtual before virtual was a thing, right? Before it was a mandated requirement, which helped you pivot. And then your intentionality around, hey, we care about our employees. Let's do the best thing for them. We're not going to be able to pay for them. We just got hit with this huge loss. They have this opportunity to go on this unemployment the government's providing. That's the best option for them at this point. Yes, this is a super hard decision, but that's what's going to be ultimately the best decision for them at this time. And you made that hard decision because you knew it was the best for your employees. And the intentionality around that is huge. And congratulations and kudos to you for being strong enough to do that hard thing when it needed to happen. And then you're like, okay, now we got to be innovative. We've got to find a way to weather this storm. And then you have the biggest year in 2020, even after that huge loss. I mean, congratulations. That's fantastic. And then your intentionality around, and we don't want to just be another design shop. We want to be different. And we're going to really pay attention to who we're serving and say, hey, we don't want to just print something and give you something. Sure, we can do that if you want. But what we really want to do is we want to say, how can we help you get the results that you want? I love that, because too often we get stuck in this rut as small business owners of, hey, I have this thing. This is what I can offer you. When in reality, the best way to go about in a small business is to think to ourselves, hey, these are my ideal clients I want to work with. And what is their problem and how can I help them solve it? I love, 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 love your intentionality around saying, you know what? We're going to take, you tell us what your budget is. What's your outcome? Let's talk through this. Let's not just give you another item that you can give out, but let's solve your problem and help you accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish. So just an awesome business model that you've created there at Liquid Screen Design. I'm just super excited for you and where you're going to go, because you say you keep growing. I can see that just being just an amazing thing, because what business out there wouldn't want somebody to be like, hey, I'm really good at what we do here. Tell us what your budget is. We're just going to help you solve your problem rather than just give you some stuff that may or may not even work. Love that. So
Well,
congratulations
that's
to you.
our whole approach, is being just intentional about everything, right? Intentional about the swag that people give out, and also intentional about the way that we work internally. I didn't even mention we do all these pop-up stores, on demand, print on demand stores. And one of the pieces of that is right now we have about 100 stores running, and our goal is to get to 2,000 stores.
Oh,
And
wow.
we upped one of our people internally from, she was a customer service rep, and now she's the director of e-commerce. Like, she's moved up, and part of that was, it was steps, right? We were at the point where, are we going to keep doing the stores, or are we going to grow them? And we've completely like changed our whole process, and she kind of took the lead in like seeing how that was working. And she didn't know, but me and my partner knew that we were identifying her as a potential. So if she was successful, there would be a position there for her at the end of the road, where she thought she was just helping us like think creatively
That's awesome.
about that process. So we're always trying to do that. The other piece of that is, I ask this every day, every decision we make that's like a larger decision, unintentional consequences. And I always throw, so what are our unintentional consequences of this decision? Are we going to, how is this going to affect us? What are we not thinking about when we go, oh, yes, we should change to a new ERP system, which we're right in the middle of doing right now, which is super intense. But like,
Right.
what are the unintentional consequences of making any kind of even small changes that may affect our customer or affect our team?
Love that. I hope everybody listening paid attention to that. What are the unintentional consequences? What a great idea to continually think to ourselves, okay, we have to plan for the what if, right? We have to be ready so that at any given moment we can pivot and turn to make sure that we can continue to be successful. So love that intentionality. Fantastic. Um, so this is the part of the show where we're going to switch gears just a little bit, Bryan. You actually kind of already alluded to it, but I'll just ask anyway. So as you continue to strive to, be the leader that you want to be, and as you're growing and developing your team, what's something that you're dealing with real time that we can have a conversation about?
Yeah, well, so one of the things, like I said, we're trying to grow. So our goal is to hire 2 new salespeople every quarter right
Oh, wow.
now. Which that's always a struggle, finding good people. We can teach people the industry, although there's a million products and thousands of different decoration methods. That's a little complicated, but we're always looking to like find a person that knows what they're doing. But the big challenge for us is, we're in our industry, we're considered a mid-sized business. A lot of people in the swag area, or promotional products, that's what a lot of people call it,
Mhm.
is mom and pop out of their garage, and it's just 2 people, and they do $1 million worth of sales, and that's really successful for them. We're in that next tier, that mid-size, about 25 people, and we're starting to creep up into that larger size in the industry.
Right.
And I think in the best places to work, we were considered mid-sized by like one person. So if we
Oh,
hired one
wow.
more person, we'd be in the large group. For just to kind of give everybody like where things lay. And the challenge that we're having is, like I said when we first started talking, like, there are people on our team that I'm not able to talk to every single day, or maybe only once a week. Just a check in as like, hey, how's it going? Because they don't really report to me, right?
Right.
They report to somebody that reports to me. And that's like the part that we're that we're focused on, right? Like making sure that our company culture remains a place where people are excited to work, where they're happy. And as we grow, what does that look like, right? Like, how do we make sure we're still taking care of an employee who feels like they still have the opportunity to just walk up and say, look, Bryan, I see that this is a problem. How, like, let's figure out how we can fix it, because I want everybody on our team to feel like they are invested in uh, the company's success. So we keep trying to do lots of different items to make sure that everybody feels like empowered. I mean, we're very much, even the lowest employee is empowered to make a decision, right? In
That's awesome.
in our space, right? I'm not creating anything. I'm, yeah, you can't tell this, but I'm sitting in my office in my house. Like I said, everybody's remote. We're not screen printing anything here. We're not ordering. The water bottles aren't sitting, over off to the side or whatever. And because of that, uh, there's lots of problems, right? There was an order that came in yesterday where we heard back from the vendor. The person ordered it 2 weeks ago, and everything's moving forward. It's supposed to be delivered next week. We got a message from our vendor. Green is now out of stock for one of the things. So we had to go back to our customer. Our customer's like, I ordered these 2 weeks ago. Like, why is it now out of stock? Like, we can't control that. So we want to make sure that our staff has the ability to handle whatever those problems are and feel like they're empowered to say, look, if it, it, we won't charge you for the green hats, right? Or like, we can switch them to red. You can wait to get them, or maybe that's the green hats. They're on us, right? Because that's the customer service piece of it, and it doesn't matter if it's me making that decision, or it's the salesperson, or the order rep, or whoever they talk to should feel like be able to make that decision. And
Yeah.
where we got to that was, first of all, we, like, it's our reputation's on the line, right? We're a
Right.
small business. When you're a small business, it's your personal reputation on the line. But I remember I went to Disney World with my wife a few years ago. This was before we had kids. We went, or no, we actually had kids, but the kids didn't go with us. This was
There you go. Adult trip.
we were there. I don't remember where the kids were, but and we had bought like 3 day passes, or one. We had 3 day passes. One of our friends works for Disney, and so he gets free passes. So we didn't know that he was going to have these free passes that he could give gift to friends, and then his wife was like, "Oh, he can get you in, for a fourth day or whatever," and so he got one pass to get in for a fourth day, and we went back. We went to the customer service, and customer service is like, oh, that's fine. We'll have to upgrade him. 1 day ticket's a little bit more expensive. Let me come back to you. Just hold on right here. This is at the gate at Disney, right? So
Okay.
really, it's the cashier. And the cashier comes back and goes, okay, you're all taken care of. And we go, yeah, but we still need to buy the one extra ticket. She goes, no, we're good. We've upped you, and it's park hopper. You can go to any of the parks today.
Wow.
And that really stuck with me. Like, that's literally, it's not an executive making a decision, it's a low level employee. And I think I want to make sure everybody, like, our customers, get that same experience, that they don't need to, I want to talk to your manager, right? Like,
Yeah.
that should never happen. They should be able to solve whatever problem it is. So that's the big thing, is like
Okay.
still keeping that culture when they may not get that same everyday experience, or they may never even hear this, like, foundational story of what happened at Disney, right? They might not get that because they're not training with me for, months and months and months. So
Yeah.
that's
No.
the piece.
Love that. And there is actually a solution for that. So here at Elite, we actually teach that same concept of how do we, as we continue to grow and develop, make sure that we ensure that we have this clarity and alignment and this next level filter of decision making, so that as the owner, you don't have to be involved in all of those decisions, because there's a clear understanding with that clarity and alignment of exactly what I can be, intentional about saying yes to and what I can be intentional about saying no to on any level, regardless of what my position is. So we think of it this way. We have what we call the elite business model, where up at the top, we have this concept of vision. So here at Elite, we think of vision as a three-part thing. You have your purpose, you have your core values, and you have your mission. Now, purpose is your why. Why do we do what we do? Why do we get out of bed in the morning? Why do we come to work every day? It's this 100-year out thing that we're going to continually serve day to day. We're never actually going to fully accomplish it, but every day we're going to get one step closer to it, right? That's this purpose. Then the values, that's who we are and how we show up on a daily basis. So any opportunity to interact with each other, to interact with the vendor, to interact with the client, it doesn't matter who in the organization they're interacting with. They're going to get the same thing because we all exhibit these same core values of who we are and how we show up. And then the mission, that's this destination that we're actually going to reach. We're going to say in the next 3, 4, or 5 years, and we're going to get real clear on the actual time. We're going to set a date and time of when we're going to get there. And we're going to say, hey, we're going to go do this really great thing. It's going to be a little bit of a stretch, but we're going to go after and we're going to accomplish this thing. And that's directly in line with our purpose, right? So now you have this clarity and alignment throughout the whole organization of, hey, each and every day we serve our purpose, and each and every day we're doing something to get us closer to our destination so that we can reach this mission together. Then we have this so that's the vision, and then you have this mountain. And down one side's your operational excellence. That's your machine that you've built that got you to where you're at. That's your company. It's growing, it's thriving, right? That has to run because that's the lifeline of your business. But then down on the left-hand side of this mountain, you have this concept or idea of strategic long-term planning, right? Understanding, okay, if we're going to get to our mission, what got us here isn't going to get us there. So we have to intentionally think, okay, what strengths do we have to leverage and what strengths do we have to develop in order to continue to grow and reach our destination or reach this mission, right? So we can accomplish this mission. Now, that's hard to say, okay, I've got this daily operational this machine I have to keep running. And I also have to think through where am I going to be tomorrow, next month, next quarter, next year, 3 years from now, right? So down across the bottom of this, we have this concept that we refer to as meeting rhythms, where we say, hey, we're going to be intentional about setting time, a proper place and time for each thing that we need to accomplish, whether it's operational or long-term strategic. So that all of that, and then that acts as this balancing down at the bottom of this mountain to ensure that we're spending time in operations and in our long-term strategic without sacrificing either, so that we make sure that we're intentional. Now, the way that you get that to trickle down is like this. We have what we call an elite leadership model, where we say, as a leader, you have 3 jobs. Your job is to set the vision, build the team, and deliver results. And at the center of all of that is this concept or idea of care. You have to care about the purpose, and you have to care about the individual, whether it's an employee, whether it's a vendor, whether it's a client. And as long as you're showing that care and you're setting the vision, building the team, and delivering results, that's all you have to do as a leader. And then you teach your next level down leaders to do the same thing. Understanding that the only thing that really looks a lot different in that is the deliver results piece. The deliver results piece changes just a little bit based on where you're at in the company. As the owner, deliver results means that you're ensuring that the results are happening by providing your team the resources and knowledge and skills and whatever they need to be successful, and then you're holding them accountable to it. Next layer down, it might be, hey, in order to deliver results, you're making sure that your team is doing this and you're setting them up for success, right? So you set up this idea of those 3 things: set the vision, build a team, deliver results. Then the way that you get this clarity and alignment with everybody in the organization is twofold. You set up what are called big 3s. A lot of people refer to them as KPIs, but we refer to them as big 3s for this reason. We say, hey, look, what is the 3 most critical things needed for the success of the role that you're in, right? So big 3s are set up by the role, not by the individual. We set them up for the role, for that position. What are the 3 most critical things needed for the success of this role? And they're clearly stated. They're either action-based or results-based, right? And they're directly in line with accomplishing the mission. So now everybody in the organization knows what it looks like to win on a daily basis and how what they're doing directly impacts your ability to reach your mission, to get to that destination. Then the way that you kind of tie all that in together is part of these meeting rhythms is this concept of one-on-ones. So we say a weekly one-on-one is what is needed. And a weekly one-on-one is a 30-minute meeting where you, as the owner, you would meet with 5 people under you. So department heads, whatever, your leadership team, you choose 5. You don't want to do more than 5 because that's just too much. So you choose 5. And for 30 minutes every single week, they have a day, a time set aside that they know they're going to get your undivided attention. The first half, the first 15 minutes is all about them. You're going to dream with them. You're going to talk to them about their personal life. You're going to see, what their goals are, where they see themselves in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, the next year, 3 years, 5 years, right? You're just going to dream with them. You're going to get to know them. You're going to let them know that they're seen and heard and you care about them. Then the next 15 minutes of that meeting is all about their big 3s. It's an opportunity for them to return and report how they're doing in their role and if they have problems. Hey, I have this roadblock. I don't know how to get through it. That does 2 things. It gives them an opportunity to come and share that with you, and it gives you an opportunity for a coaching opportunity with them to say, okay, what are your thoughts? How do you think you can overcome that? So you can do some back and forth dialogue, but then you then now know what they need to, and you can add additional resources and help them however you can to avoid those roadblocks that are getting in their way for them to accomplish their big 3. Then on once a quarter, you're reviewing those big 3s to make sure that they're still relevant for that role. Because as a company, we're going to adjust and pivot based on what's happening. So we're going to reevaluate or relook at those big 3s, make sure they're still relevant on a quarterly basis. So that's that. What that does is it's huge. Now, everybody in your company now has a place and time. Because what it does is you're up here, you meet with 5 people. Each of those 5 people meet with 5 people. Each of those people meet with people, right? Until you're all the way down. So everybody in the company is having a one-on-one with somebody in the organization. They have a place and time designated where they know that they're going to have undivided attention of their leader, where they can discuss their personal life and they can discuss their work life and how things are going. That's where you're going to be able to trickle down from the top. And we always say from the top down is the way it works. You're setting this vision, and every one of your leaders are setting that vision, and every one of their supervisors are setting the vision, and then all of the entry-level people are hearing that vision. So you're constantly talking about purpose. You're constantly talking about values. You're saying, hey, we're serving this purpose. Hey, I saw that yesterday you exhibited this core value when you were dealing with this client. Way to go. Way to live into that value. We appreciate you. That's awesome. What a great example, right? In disciplinary councils, when we have to pull somebody in and talk to them, we can bring up values and say, what value maybe did you forget to exhibit when you were dealing in that situation, right? So we're constantly talking about purpose, values, and we're always talking about mission. Where are we at with our mission? How close are we? Oh, guys, we're one step closer. We just closed this deal. Way to go. You guys are awesome. We're on the right path. We're almost there. Let's dig in. Let's get going. By doing that, you're going to create this amazing ability for everybody to have this clarity and alignment of exactly where you're going, what you're trying to accomplish, and what you're serving. Because every person in the company now has 2 questions to ask when there's any situation that they're dealing with, right? So in the example that you gave, vendor calls back, says, hey, we're out of stock on those hats. Now that employee can say, okay, we're out of stock on those hats. I have to call back this customer. Okay, how can I serve our purpose and get us one step closer to our mission by serving this customer? So now they have this next level filter of decision making where you don't have to be involved in that process because they know exactly what it looks like to serve the purpose and to make sure that they're getting closer to that mission. And they can make that decision and they can take care of that customer and offer them, hey, why don't we just go ahead and no cost. As soon as these get in, because we're not able to get these hats for you, we're just not going to charge you for them. Right? Because that's going to be directly in line with whatever your purpose is, and it's going to get you closer to your mission because you're taking care of your customer. I don't know what your purpose is. I don't know what your mission is, but understanding that, I would be able to step into your company today, and I would be able to clearly make that determination and make a worthwhile decision, because I would make sure that it was in line with your purpose and it was going to increase our ability to reach our mission. So that's my 2 cents about that. I brought up
No,
some things that maybe could be
it's
helpful.
super helpful. We definitely we have a purpose and mission statement on our website. Although we don't have the core values, and I think that's a piece that uh, we're going to go back and I'm going to bring it to our leadership team to have that conversation of how to pass on that core values. And similar to like what you said, like I meet with our leadership team probably multiple times a week. They get probably more than they want to of me. And but I like what you said. I mean, I know that they're the people that report to them meet with them, but I don't think they get the same the amount of time, right? The 15 minutes of the personal stuff, right? And I think that's a key component of that. And also, it brought up a couple of different things when I was thinking about like the core values of piece of it. We work with some like big name brand clients, right? So like we do Peloton's Geek Squad, or we work with the Detroit Pistons, right? But that shouldn't be the like everybody should get that same level of service, right?
Right.
So that to me, that's that core value that we want to make sure that even if you're the local dry cleaner, you're getting that's not where we draw the line, right? You get the artwork, you get the creative team, you get all of that wrapped into one, no matter what that issue is. And so I like that really drew my attention. I was taking notes. I don't know if you could see. I was
No, you're good. I'm
kind of
glad.
scribbling away here. So, yeah, I mean, I think that core values and then that trickle down that you said is that key component, because if we're going to be at 2 people a quarter, that adds up pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it's 2 people a quarter. But if the sales go up, then you got to provide more support staff. You can't just so
Yep.
it's 2 salespeople a quarter, but maybe it's 3 people a quarter that in the end, depending on how good everybody is
Yeah.
at doing. So, yeah, that trickle down piece of it gives me some uh, thought of how to make sure that the people at the bottom are getting the same kind of attention that I would want to give to the people that are on the leadership team, and also modeling that behavior of
Yeah.
like fully invested in them personally, as well as what their personal goals. One of the things that we did actually it's a year ago, we implemented into our employee benefits, is I did individual meetings with everybody on the team about their bucket list.
Oh, that's awesome.
We asked for everybody to create a bucket list of 20, 30 things, uh, with the knowing that one of our goals was we were going to, for like special occasions, we were going to fulfill one of those bucket list.
Oh, that is so cool.
And we gave to our 5-year employees. She just hit her 5 year. We gave her one of her items on her bucket list was she wanted to go on an Alaskan cruise. That was one of the ones on her list. So she has not booked her trip, but we have told her and she can take somebody else, all expenses paid from us, because the a lot of what you said is we want to build up their personal piece so that they see to how to lead the way that we want to lead as well,
Yeah.
right? Lead in the industry, lead with our customers, even with our vendors, even when the vendor like kind of screws us on that hat order. Like we want them to feel like we're not just after them for like they made a mistake. Like let's figure out how to work with it together. So I loved a lot of the things that you said, and like I said, I took a bunch of notes, and we're going to go back to our leadership team to like discuss that. We do call them KPIs, not big threes, but I kind of like big threes. We keep saying we don't want to call them KPIs. We want to come up with something more fun, more on brand for who we are, not like, oh, check
Yeah.
off these numbers and and, and did you make all these meetings? Did how many orders made a mistake? Did you make your margin? All of those different things like that doesn't feel like us. Our KPI is probably closer to big threes. So
Cool.
that's great information there. I hope everybody was listening to you now go through all of that stuff. So
Well, I appreciate that. Well, Bryan, this has just been an absolute delight having you on the show today. Again, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who are listening in, if you want to get a hold of Bryan and you really like what Liquid Screen Design is doing, Bryan, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and your team?
Yeah, look, the best way to get to us is go to our website, right? So www.liquidscreendesign.com. It's on my shirt here. It's on my hat here. Obviously, we're a branding company. Always be branded. My wife makes fun of me. But our website, you can email me directly, bgoltzman@liquidscreendesign.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, right? And send me a LinkedIn message that way, and then we can always move it from LinkedIn into a personal meeting, right? So it's Bryan Goltzman, just like my name is on the screen, and wherever LinkedIn you can find me. There's not a lot of
Awesome.
Bryan Goltzmans with the big hair and the beard and the glasses and stuff like that. So I'm pretty easy to find. Now, if it's on a sales side, you're going to talk to me, but really going to talk to somebody that actually knows what they're going to be doing, right? So you get to talk to me, and then my staff will go, "Oh yeah, Bryan didn't know what he was talking about." So
That's awesome.
I get out of their way. So, but yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. And, I know everybody listening probably needs swag and needs some marketing advice. And, we're happy to give you that advice and then talk about what swag accomplishes that.
Yeah, love that. And again, I would encourage any of you that even are thinking about it to reach out to Bryan and his team. What an awesome opportunity to work with a company that cares about you and is willing to custom tailor something to help you get the results that you're looking for. Just an awesome business model. Again, excited for you and your company and wish you the best of success moving forward. For those of you who are listening in today, if you heard something that you're like, you know what, I really ought to do that. I I ask you, please take action, because it's not until we take a step forward that we start to see the results that we're hoping for. And if you heard something on today's show that you're like, you know what, I know somebody that could benefit from this, let's share this podcast with as many people as we can so that we can create some value and spread it as far as we can. Well, it's been a great delight being on the show with Bryan today. I hope all of you listening in were able to benefit and gain some value from today's episode. But that concludes today's episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. Until next time, take care, everyone.
Thanks, John.